Right, welcome back. So we're now back at the main parts of the clothing, just to get not the final highlight, but let's just see if we can capture what the colour of the cloak is. Right, at the moment it looks quite good, but let's go in here now. Right, so what I've done with the original colour, there's no black, and I've put a tiny amount of that famous earth brown, which I think will be second lightest I'll use. So we're going in here, and we're going in here. Okay, now get rid of this brush because it's an older one. You can see the bristle's already swollen down right at the tip where the metal is. So I don't want that because it actually it's difficult to get a point on. So we're back in there. Got a newer one. Right, so bump, bump, bump. Right there. Okay, right, we've done the highlights there, done the highlights there. So on here, let's see. Okay, and we're back in here. So we're almost applying now what is the true colour of the cloak. Okay, we've got the low lights right into the creases. We had the base coat that was darkened down, and now we're painting what the cloth maker would have designed the colour to look like. Okay, now with cloaks, apart from when you're doing these areas, you know, where you've got those really tight creases in there, what more can you really do with a cloak apart from this? And apart from, right, and this, at the edge of the cloak, I've just added a little bit more of the earth brown. At the tip of the cloak, or just the edges of the cloak, where it'd be more worn by the sun, or, you know, just by wear, we're going to try and just put now, I mean, it's quite subtle, but I was very pleased with that stroke. I don't know if you can see that kind of, that lifted it. And I'll probably do one last bit there, but now we're into those difficult parts. Maybe I should have used a different brush, but here we go. That's good. That's good. Right, okay. Just a few bits there. A few touches, boom, boom, boom. And again, as I say, just at the very edge of the cloak, and this big swoop down there. So we're not far off being done with the cloak, okay? But what we're going to do, we're going to mix, let me see. I'm actually going to go for a tiny amount of white, okay? I'm going to mix it into there. If you see there, right, now that's pretty light, but this is going to be the very, very last. And you know what? I'm going to have to go for the insane detail brush here, again, which isn't the tiniest. Right, let's go in. Let's see what happens. Right, right, again, I'm visiting the edge of the cloak. And these, I'll be honest with you, those small touches, those very last little highlights, I think are the difference between a well-painted figure. Now, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, a lot better painters than me, but it just adds that tiniest, and it doesn't take that much longer to do, but when you manage to achieve it, if you manage to achieve it, it does lift that figure from being a War Games figure to almost like a collector's kind of figure. So there, don't know if you can see in there, and there. Right, so let's have a little look. You can see, as I say, that tiniest little light touch there and in there. Okay, so, right, we'll just leave it at that for now. Yeah, welcome back. So now what we did with the cloak, we have to do with the tunic. So here we go. Right, a little bit of the original. So this is Field Blue. I might as well give you the name of the Vallejo paint. Right, so this is the original colour, which we're now using as a highlight. Now, see there, that crease. I mean, if we can nail that, that's going to be a winner. So, boom, boom. And if you can see in there. And then some more strokes just to, you know, show that this isn't armour, this is cloth. Okay, and I normally would just go up and around the sleeve area. Okay, and then right where the elbow is. That's where you've got to make sure that's quite light. Right, so let me get a little bit more on there. Okay. Right, probably gone a little bit too far with that paint. So we'll get the bigger brush out, just pull it over. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Now, down by the legs. So here, where the leg is moving, we need a piece there. Here, we need a highlight there. And now what you've got, I mean, it's very subtle, but there is a highlight needed somewhere in here, and it will be right at the very edge of the cloth, okay? Because we're going to put a, I'm going to actually use it now. So I've still got some of that black glaze, putting it on here. So right here where you've got this kind of like little cave, a little tunnel in there where the leg is high there, and then you've got that. Don't know if you can see, worked quite well. Yep. And I tell you what, we'll just mix this again with a tiny amount of white. Don't know if you can see me mixing it down there. I don't want it to be too light. But because this is a new brush, I don't need to change brushes. So here, we're revisiting this. That's a winner. And again, I mean, look at that. I mean, that is a very, very fine tip for a new brush, isn't it? Just hold it up there, look. Okay, and now just in there, and a tiny little tad there, and a tiny little tad there. Okay, I'm quite happy that that's the tunic, the cloak, the under tunic, the leather. Right, join me in again. Okay, right, welcome back. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do these leggings, leg wraps, whatever. So I've got the Games Workshop Citadel ink. Again, I never buy Citadel paints, but their inks, I think, are almost essential when it comes to lots of painting techniques. So you can see the strap there. So I'm just going to use some of this flesh shade on here. Again, I'm just touching it. I don't want it to go on neat. Okay, now if you can see, there's hardly any ink on there, but can you see how it's just flowed into the creases of those leg wraps? Okay. Right, so we'll leave them alone, but we also have to now visit the flesh. I mean, after all, this is flesh wash. So again, we're just touching it onto there and into the face. Now this should pick out the eyes. Right. Now, if you can see there, that has, without me actually having to paint the eye itself, you know, where you're doing the top lid, the bottom lid, and then you're trying to reach in with an 000 paintbrush to do the little kind of slit of the eye, that has done it all for me. I just show you there. Okay. Right, so that's that part done. Now, I mean, while we're about it, I mean, some of the, I was tempted to use it on here. Why don't we just try it? Because not all leather would be of the same age or the same kind of colour leather when it's tanned, etc., etc. So we're just going to leave that for now, just to dry before we do some highlights down there. But so this Uhtred, being an Anglo-Saxon, probably an Anglo-Dane. I mean, the Angles were from Denmark, essentially, as were the Jutes. But we're going to now do the hair. Right, okay, so we're back with our favourite miniature paint, Earth Brown. And here we go. So I'm going to get a small amount of this Earth Brown, put it on there. Again, tiny bit of ink, a tiny bit. Right, okay. So, I don't know if you can see, I'll tell you what, let's move this water out the way. Let's clear the detritus, and you can see, let's even move this paintbrush out the way, look. Now we're beavering. Okay, so the hair. Okay, the beard. You know, when you're painting hundreds of miniatures, you know, Dark Age miniatures, and you don't want them all in brown hair, and you've got to kind of mix up what kinds of hair. So you've got the vast majority is dark brown, then you've got kind of chestnut hair, then you've got, they call it like a mousy kind of colour, a nondescript colour, a little bit like this, which is a kind of basically like an earthy colour. And you've got some with ginger hair, black hair. But when I paint Anglo-Saxons, I like to have at least half of the force sporting some kind of variant of blonde, right? As opposed to the Vikings, who would have a lot more dark brown and maybe a bit of ginger, whatever. And essentially they're the same people, but when you've got them on the tabletop, do whatever you can to differentiate the force, even if you're pushing reality just that little bit, you know. Otherwise you might as well everybody just buy Vikings, and they can actually be everybody. So there we go. Now this helmet here that he's got on, it was a long time ago, not long ago, you know, when I found out about the Yarmo helmet. I mean, we've got the Bentley Grange and we've got the Jorvik helmet, but this Yarmo helmet was quite a formidable, a large steel helmet, Spangenhelm, but with Uhtred I haven't got the spectacles on it, which was part of the Yarmo helmet when it was found. So yes, we've just done the hair there, right. Now, see where the hair is just, you've got the rim of the helmet. I need to just get that a thin line there so I know what I'm dealing with when I'm painting hair and where the helmet is. So you can see there, I need to just get a line. Right, now I know where I am, okay? So, and you know, while I've got the black here, I might as well just do a fine line there. Sometimes I just touch it. A fine line there. Just touch that in. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so now we're gonna change brushes. Insane detail. This is just straight out the pot. Dark earth. Right, boom, boom. Right, now Uhtred has got some pigtails, as you can see there. So, I mean, you can spend as long as you want on those with a 000 brush. But let's have a little look. As long as we pick up a couple of those tiny pigtails there, but look, let's just, don't know if you can see, yeah? Right, boom, 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 boom. And there's, right, small amount of hair coming out here. Touch, touch, boom, boom, boom. Right, so you can see with the pigtail, I've just managed to just get 1, 2, 3 tiny little, from the very tip of the brush, onto the plait. Okay, now let's just do the same here. So you've got the hair, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, and then you've got the flowing hair at the back. Turn them around, boom, 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 boom. Have to be 2. It's just really just showing this is 3-dimensional. And just put some right at the edge. Okay, right. Now I'm going to go for a highlight, probably one of the most delicate operations we can do. And what have we got here? I've got medium flesh tone. Whoops, that's how you waste paint. In fact, I don't like that. I'm going to go for, that's a little bit too gingery. Right, okay, German yellow. Right, so, right, again, I don't like mixing paint with an insane detail brush, but I just want a small amount here. I don't know if you can see me mix it. There we are. Now, right, let's go in. I don't know if you can see. Right, on his moustache, the highlight is closest to his nose. Okay. Likewise here. Closest to the nose. And then down here we've got a few strokes, not too many. Now we're coming back to the pigtails. There. Now where the hair meets, you've got the cheek, you've got the hair, and you've got the helmet. I need to just get a highlight in there. And because the hair is pulled into the pigtail, I need to get another one just there. I don't know if you can see. Some of these might not be obvious, you know, because of the camera. And just a few highlights down there. Okay, I think that's all we need to do with the hair. Okay, right, leave it at that.